The faction war has returned. The followers of Khorne and the Greenskins stand ready to do battle once again. If you have not seen the first battle in this Greenskins versus followers of Khorne faction war, make sure you go back and watch that battle. It was absolutely insane. One of the closest battles on any Total War game I've ever fought. Definitely recommend you go in and check that out. Well, if we look at the army setups for today, it's going to be basically the exact same thing as the last battle. Remember that we are still at tier 1, and each faction is going to have a very limited selection of units to pull from. So just a reminder, at tier 1, the Greenskins must bring a big gun general, and then they have a selection of Night Goblin archers, Night Goblin spears, Orc boys, Orc spear boys, and Savage Orc boys to choose from their pool of units. At tier 1 for the followers of Khorne, they must bring a Chaos Knight general, and then they have a selection of Marauders, Marauder Desolators, Gores, and Ungores with spears to choose from on their unit roster. So, just like last battle, this battle is going to come down to whether the Greenskin player, Vod Gojira, can use his Night Goblins to meat shield and tar pit appropriately against the most dangerous units for the followers of Khorne. If the Chaos Knight General is given free reign in the back to hunt down and hammer and anvil the Orc Boy line, the Greenskin army will rout and they will have a horrible, terrible, no good, very bad day. What makes this faction matchup so interesting is that the Chaos Knight is an absolute predator. It is by far the most powerful unit on the battlefield today, but it is only one unit. Across the line, the Greenskins do have tankier and better melee units that will grind down the followers of Khorne if given the time. So if Indy Pride is able to use his Chaos Knight General very effectively, he will win the battle. If he doesn't, Greenskins will win. So we're going to see some Marauder Desolators charge right in here into the meat shields and Night Goblin spears. Get a good charge off there, but that's exactly how you want to use the Night Goblins. Want to make sure they don't charge into your more important Orc Boys and Orc Spear Boys. Those are going to be the guys that do the damage over time. The Big Gun General is going to be what's going to hold the Greenskin line down, make sure that they don't rout, and they will cut through over on the flank that they're at. At the moment, it looks like the Chaos Knight General for Indy Pride is on the left flank, and it has spotted a Savage Orc Boy all by itself. This is going to be a devastating charge. The Savage Orc Boys only have an armor value of 1. They will get absolutely slaughtered by Chaos Knight charges, and we're going to see that right here, getting thrown up into the air, and the Chaos Knight General is going to be able to pull through, do a ridiculous amount of damage to that Savage Orc Boy. So now the Chaos Knight General is in a flanking position. They might be able to get some hammer and anvils off, but first they're going to go for some of the Night Goblins and get the meat shields off the field. The melee engagement has begun in earnest at this point all across the line. The Marauders, the Marauder Desolators are locked in combat, and we're going to get a look at the Big Gun General over on the left flank. This is a really good engagement for Vod Gojira and the Greenskins. The Big Gun will cut through everything on this left flank. The Big Gun has 2 hit points and very good melee stats, by far the best melee stats of any melee unit on the battlefield right now, and you can see how massive they are. Definitely earning their Big Gun moniker, but this is going to be a poor engagement over on the right flank for the followers of Khorne. Without help from the Chaos Knight hammer and anviling, they are not going to be able to win that engagement. They'll have absolutely no hope. Over on the other side of the battlefield, the Chaos Knight General has already made his presence felt. 2 very good charges, one right here into the back of the already engaged Savage Orc Boys and some of the Night Goblins. That probably got around 60-70 kills. When the Chaos Knight General charges a Night Goblin, it'll usually be between 100 to 120 kills. On a Savage Orc Boy, it'll probably be around 50 or 60. But that means that each one of those charges is very important to block for the Greenskins. You've got to get your Night Goblins in a position to tie them down. And that's why the Night Goblins are one of the best meat shields in the entire mod, because they are extremely fast and extremely cheap, and they have 250 men in the unit. So they cover a lot of space, and they are very, very capable of making sure that their main line doesn't get charged over and over by the Chaos Knight. But so far, there hasn't been a lot of blocking these charges. We can see Gojira trying to get his Night Goblin spears into a position to prevent these Chaos Knights from charging in. This is fine right here. The Night Goblin archers, you don't want to lose them, because they will do a lot of damage to the very low armored units of the followers of Khorne. If you remember, every infantry unit for the followers of Khorne at tier 1 has 1 armor or 0. But with that said, Night Goblin archers are not expensive. They are not particularly important, and if you can make your opponent, like Indy Pride, kind of wasting his time right now, killing these Night Goblin archers, that is going to be a problem for him. Obviously, the Chaos Knight would much rather be hammering and anviling the main line, killing off some Savage Orc Boys or the Orc Boy main line, or even going for the back of the Big Un General. So, there are a lot of Night Goblins in the back here that the Chaos Knights are going to have to deal with before they can start hammering and anviling the main line. And what's going to be very interesting here is if the Greenskin army can break the followers of Khorne, their infantry formation, before the Chaos Knights can start hitting the very important soft squishy targets already engaged. So it's an awkward position to be in as a Khorne player, because with your Chaos Knight, you want to make sure you get those archers off the field, because they will do so much damage over time to the very low armor Ungors with Spears and Marauders and Marauder Desolators. But if you spend too much time killing the Night Goblin archers, then you're not killing the really important melee units that will cut through the main line for Khorne. So it's a tricky situation. You want to kill all those archers off, but you also want to hit the very important Orc Boys and Big Uns. So the Chaos Knight has decided to go for the main line after doing quite a bit of damage to the Night Goblins in the back there. Not all of the archers are dead though, and if you leave the archers untouched for a while, they will also do a lot of damage to the Chaos Knights. So even though the Chaos Knights do have a lot of armor and a good shield block chance if they're getting shot in the back, they will take quite a bit of damage from Night Goblin archers if they're given time to fire. So actually, a couple of the Marauder Desolators have broken through, tying up some goblins in the back here, and this is where it's going to get really scary for the Greenskins. No Night Goblins to stop this charge. Big one. It's actually not going to look like it does that much, but the Big Uns you do remember they do have 2 hit points. So you're going to see a couple of units die there, not too many, but it is going to get rid of that first hit point. That charge is still a big deal. Definitely don't want to be taking a bunch of hammer and anvils from Chaos Knights into the back of the Big Un General. Gojira needs to get some Night Goblins over there to protect the back of his line. So the main line engagement has been going pretty evenly so far, but I do think that with this Chaos Knight in a threatening position now, it is going to start turning a bit. He doesn't have any Night Goblins over on his left flank to protect from these charges, and another one's going to come in here. Another pretty decent charge. And the Big Uns are going to be starting to take a lot of damage here. These Big Uns over on the left flank of the Greenskins, they just need time. If they're not charged in the back by these Chaos Knights, they will absolutely slaughter everything over here. These Marauder Desolators and Marauders have absolutely no chance against the Big Uns and their 2 hit points. But mercifully, the Chaos Knight General has actually decided to pull out, and it looks like he might be going for these Night Goblin Archers, which is actually going to be a pretty big mistake here, I think. He should be going for the General. If he kills the General, this battle is completely over. There's really no reason to come over. I understand that he wants to free up some of these Marauders over on this side. There are units that are going to come in, and if they get hammer and anvils off on the main line, that'll be great. But I do think it's a waste of time to come over here and kill his meat shield unit. He has free reign to just charge in. Oh my god, you see that charge? Night Goblins were at 130. They're going to drop all the way down to 50 or so. About 70, 80 kills off the charge right there, and that is the power of the Chaos Knight General. But it was a waste of time. Chaos Knight didn't need to come over here. We're going to see if that ends up biting the Khorne player. So there is some routing on the main line for the Warriors of Khorne. There could be a mass rout, chain rout starting to happen here. If the Chaos Knight General goes down, that will be the end for Khorne. But at the moment, the Greenskins don't have any unit in a flanking position. That is a big problem. If they had one unit free to get into the rear of the Khorne line, I think that it could probably break. But the Chaos Knight General is still alive. Probably not going to be dying anytime soon because there isn't much left on the field for it. And in these late game situations, a Chaos Knight just charging into whatever it wants is going to be massive, massive problem. So there are a couple Goblin units here. Looks like a Goblin Spear trying desperately to get in and protect the Big Uns. This isn't going to be a massive charge, actually. Sometimes the charges do bug out. And it's going to get a couple kills, but not a ton on the Big Uns. That's not the Big Un routing right there. That's an Orc Boy. Big Uns are still alive, and now they're starting to break through, and they might get into a flanking position. This is very good from Gojira, what he's doing. He's kind of pulling through and getting away from the Chaos Knight. And that's what he really needs to do. He needs to get as far away from that Chaos Knight General as much as possible. And they're in a flanking position. Just charge into the side of the Warriors of Khorne, but the Predator, the Shark that is the Chaos Knight, is still circling around, trying to get away from these Goblin Spears and just looking for something to charge into. I think this is going Khorne's way. The bounce bar is still at Greenskin's favor, but I think that's misleading. I think the fact that there's still a half-strength Chaos Knight on the field is such a big deal. It is a late-game powerhouse. It's an early-game powerhouse. I've said it many times. It is the most powerful unit on the field, and the fact that Gojira hasn't done as much damage here as he would like to it is a big deal. So there are some Marauders cutting through the Night Goblins there. Night Goblins are tied down. Good charge here into the Orc boys that were trying to reinforce. They did wrap up the engagement over on the left flank for the followers of Khorne. Should be able to rout these Orc boys, and again, this is not what you want when you're having such an important unit, one of your better melee units on the field getting cut down by the Chaos Knight. That's a big issue. So they're going to rout from the field, probably not going to come back here, and I think that the Greenskins are running out of steam at this point. They are in really big trouble. It's going to probably have to come down to killing the Chaos Knight General. If the General dies for Khorne, all of these factions, both these factions at Tier 1, have morale problems. The Marauders and the Orc boys especially, they will rout when their General dies. But I think that might be his only hope at this point. The Chaos Knight has caused so much damage. Continues to be in flanking positions, getting utilized really effectively, honestly. And I don't know how many kills they're up to right now. We'll see at the end of the game, but they are well into the hundreds at this point, probably around 600 or so, especially with those charges in the Night Goblins. So one of those orcs, the Orc boys, are surrounded. There's more wavering, and the General's dead. That's it. That's gonna be the game. That's gonna be the game. This is just gonna be wrapping up at this point. With the General dead, Greenskins rout. That's simply how they work. They're gonna be running off the field very, very soon here. So there are a couple Night Goblins left, and the Chaos Knight still trying to get into positions to hammer and anvil, but it's really a moot point at this point. General's not going to die to any of these crappy meat shield units. And even if it does, there's honestly still going to be about 20 or 25 Chaos Knights still on the field to charge in and stuff and just rout them. So a bunch of Night Goblins routing right there. That is going to be your game. We're probably going to see a couple really nice charges in the back here. There is this one Night Goblin archer, and the Chaos Knight has sighted it. Like a homing missile, like a moth to the flame, the Chaos Knight is going to track down these Night Goblins and absolutely obliterate them. We'll see that charge in a second here. But I must say that I think this battle came down to the use of the meat shields. I think if Gojira had done a little bit better job with his spears blocking the charges at the beginning of the game, this might have been a different battle. But Chaos Knight coming in, charging, and this is going to be, oh my god. Oh, it's just absolute carnage. It's absolute carnage. Night Goblins will get shattered, broken to a million tiny little pieces, and run from the field. And that is going to be your game. Chaos Knights, again, proving their worth. Definitely the MVPs that game, and we'll take a look at their kills in the moment. But it looks like 2,400 deployed for the followers of Khorne, about 3,100 for the Greenskins. And this was a really interesting battle, and again, it came down to the Night Goblins meat shielding and whether they could block the charges of the Chaos Knights. We know how important it is to have heavy cavalry on the field. Again, this is an experimental setup with these tiers, so possibly a little imbalanced, but I do think that if the Greenskins meat shield appropriately against the Chaos Knights, they're going to do really well. They ended up getting almost 900 kills this game. A couple of the Chaos Marauders got over 300, but the majority of them around 80 or 90 kills. Orc Boy versus Chaos Marauder will win. But that means we're going to be moving on to Tier 2 now. It's going to be a siege. First siege I've done on Call of Warhammer. Really excited for that. It's going to be a really good time. I hope you guys are there. More faction war coming soon.